Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources, the articles, the research, the historical accounts, and synthesize them into the knowledge shortcut you need to feel instantly well-informed.
Today we're tackling a huge one, a figure who is, I think, one of the most misunderstood in all of history, Cleopatra VII.
Absolutely. When you hear the name Cleopatra, you almost immediately picture the Hollywood version, right? The seductress, the femme fatale.
Exactly. And that image, which mostly comes from biased Roman accounts, has really trapped her. But if you rely only on that, you miss, well, everything that made her so powerful.
And that's our mission for you today. We're going to use the historical record for a fascinating thought experiment. We want to reveal her true identity as a CEO, a scientist, a strategist.
And then imagine how that massive ambition and personality would actually manifest in the 21st century.
We're digging deep into the archives you shared with us to understand her daily work, her intellectual drive.
By mapping her ancient skills onto modern roles. This isn't just a history lesson. It's really a blueprint for power and, I'd say, personal branding.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Where do we even begin?
Let's start with the part of her story that gets completely buried by all the romance and drama. Her brain, I mean, she was a scientist, an entrepreneur.
Serious one.
Yeah.
She wasn't just a royal consumer who, bought the best things. She was an innovator.
Ancient sources, like Pliny the Elder, they suggest she had her own personal laboratory.
That's right. Reportedly near the Dead Sea. And this wasn't some glorified dressing room. It was a dedicated lab where she studied the chemistry of essences.
We're talking perfumes, pharmaceuticals.
And, yes, even poisons. This was deep, meticulous research.
So it's like she wasn't just wealthy enough to buy the world's best moisturizer. She was the chief chemist inventing it.
Precisely. If she were alive today, she wouldn't just be endorsing a product line.
No way.
She'd be the one in the lab coat running the R&D. She'd be the CEO of a huge luxury beauty empire thing, like the scale of a Rihanna or Victoria Beckham.
But with a PhD in chemistry.
Yes, and her focus would be on advanced, practical applications, maybe pioneering eco-sustainable cosmetics, because she understood that intellectual curiosity was a direct path to power and to economic stability.
And that economic point is so critical. Our sources confirm she used that same scientific mind for huge administrative tasks.
Monumental one.
Currency stabilization, agricultural programs. I mean, she was basically a macroeconomist, ensuring Egypt's grain supply was stable for Rome, while also keeping her own economy solvent.
It all connects. Her scientific mind wasn't just a hobby. Everything tied back to the stability of her dynasty. Look at the Mendeziano perfume.
The one scientists recently recreated.
Exactly. It wasn't some light floral scent.
Not at all. It was described as dense, spicy, a powerful mix of myrrh, cinnamon, and resins.
And incredibly long-lasting. It wasn't designed for a quick dinner party. It was scientifically engineered to withstand the brutal desert sun for hours.
It was a projection of authority that had to literally last all day.
Her chemistry was reinforcing her royal authority. It was all part of the same package.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. If she's this hands-on scientist, fiddling with herbs and resins in a lab, doesn't that risk undermining the whole mystique? The image of her as a living goddess.
Well, that's the paradox she mastered, isn't it?
Yep.
She never exposed the work, she only deployed the results.
Ah, okay.
Her knowledge let her reform the calendar from lunar to solar reform, so advanced the Romans themselves adopted it later. She used science to project an image of divine competence.
So if she could master the science of scent, she believed she could master geopolitics.
And speaking of mastery, that's the perfect transition into her strategy. How did she turn all that intellectual firepower into actual diplomatic power?
It started with something surprisingly fundamental.
Communication. This detail, when I was reviewing the material, it just stunned me. Cleopatra was the only ruler from the Greek Ptolemaic dynasty
The only one in 300 years.
to actually learn to speak Egyptian fluently.
For centuries, her family had just spoken Greek and used interpreters to talk to their own subjects. It's incredible.
It was a symbol of their detachment. But Cleopatra didn't just learn Egyptian. She spoke at least 8 other languages. Imagine the power that gave her.
No more filter.
No filter. She could negotiate directly with the powerful Egyptian priests, rally her own soldiers, talk to foreign merchants, all without the risk of an interpreter twisting her words.
She controlled the nuance, read the room, built immediate rapport. In today's world, she'd be a diplomat of the absolute highest caliber.
Oh, without a doubt. Picture her at a G20 summit, just effortlessly switching from English to Arabic to Mandarin.
Bypassing the translators entirely.
She'd insist on using the most advanced communication tech, not just because it's new, but because it would give her unfiltered control of her message.
So let's talk about those famous relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Many people see them as, desperate romantic entanglements to cling to power.
That view just fundamentally misunderstands her goals. As the sources like Plutarch recount, these were not emotional flings. They were incredibly complex strategic alliances.
With one singular objective.
To maintain the sovereignty of Egypt against the terrifying, expanding shadow of Rome, every move was calculated to keep Rome dependent on Egypt, not to conquer it. She was playing three-dimensional chess on a global board.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
When she needed to communicate that power, she used spectacle like no one else. The descriptions of her entrance to meet Mark Antony are just breathtaking.
This wasn't just, a boat ride.
It was a multi-sensory naval parade designed to overwhelm you. She turned a meeting into an unforgettable global event. The sources talk about flutes and cetras, this whole festive soundtrack.
But the incense is the detail that gets me.
Right. It was so profuse, burning on these censers on her gilded ship, that you could smell it for kilometers as she approached the harbor.
Wait, kilometers away? That's not just luxury. That's like strategic environmental control.
Precisely.
Hmm.
She understood that power isn't just policy, it's percezione. It's perception. That sensory assault established her as a divine, wealthy, and technologically superior ruler before she even stepped on shore.
So if you translate that to today, she'd be the undisputed master of viral marketing.
Oh, completely. Her launches, whether a political initiative or a scientific breakthrough, would be these massive global events, every detail curated.
The lighting, the music, the custom-designed clothes.
Even her choice of transportation. It would all be engineered to communicate overwhelming superiority and this irresistible allure. The spectacle is the message.
Which brings us to our final thought experiment. Let's really use our imagination here. The psychology of her modern transportation.
If Cleopatra is the ultimate master of image and silent, decisive control, what car does she choose for her theatrical entrances today?
We're thinking high-end luxury electric vehicles, EVs.
Right. And the sources, when you read them through the lens of her psychology, they suggest she would have adored modern EVs. For three core reasons: innovation, control, and autonomy.
Innovation is a given. She was always ahead of the curve, like with the solar calendar. Electric tech is futuristic, it's silent, it's the very definition of avant-garde.
And control is everything for a strategist.
Yeah.
An EV gives you that instant torque, that silent swoosh.
A rapid movement with no vulgar noise. It's perfect for maintaining that sort of royal detachment.
Exactly. But there's also the third element, autonomy.
Her whole life was a fight for Egyptian independence from Rome.
So an autosufficient car, one that doesn't rely on the messy, brute force mechanics of combustion, aligns perfectly with that goal. She demands control over her environment.
Okay, so which specific EV suits this divine diplomat who demands silent technological perfection?
Well, her primary choice, based on her profile, it really points to one vehicle, the Rolls-Royce Spectre.
The Spectre, why that one specifically?
First, the absolute absence of vibration. Cleopatra, you have to imagine, detested the vulgarity of noise and rumble. The Spectre's fluid electric drive is this magic carpet ride.
It mirrors her self-perception of gliding above the earthly world.
It's perfect. Then there's the interior. The bespoke details speak directly to her passions.
The Starlight headliner.
And the starlight doors. Thousands of tiny fiber optic LEDs recreating the night sky inside the car. As an astronomy and astrology enthusiast, she would be obsessed with traveling inside a constellation. It's her own portable, perfect sanctuary.
And the power itself is strategic.
It's silent and instantaneous. It reflects her statecraft perfectly. Invisible until she chooses to act, but completely undeniable when it's deployed. It's quiet power personified.
And of course she would customize it. The bespoke element would be non-negotiable.
She definitely requests Cangiani paint, that color-changing finish that shifts from lapis lazuli blue to brilliant gold, like her silk robes.
And as the daughter of Ra, the sun god, she wouldn't be plugging into a simple charging station.
No, she'd insist on integrated solar panels. Her car would recharge directly from the sun. That's branding and sovereignty all in one.
But what if she needed a trophy car? Something just to flaunt her superiority to a rival, like Octavian.
A different tool for a different job. For that, she'd choose the Lucid Air Sapphire.
Why the Lucid?
Because it's the fastest, most technologically refined EV on the market. It's pure engineering brilliance and speed. For a woman whose strategy was defined by speed of thought and action, it's the perfect symbol to show anyone who dared challenge her.
So at the end of the day, what we've really learned is that the true legacy of Cleopatra wasn't just passion or tragedy.
It was strategic intelligence, deep scientific curiosity, and a flawless sense of personal branding that could cross any culture, any language, any technology.
So what does this all mean? If Cleopatra, the ultimate symbol of ancient sovereignty, would today choose a vehicle defined by silent, autonomous power, does that suggest that modern technology is the new theater for asserting global dominance?
Maybe even for asserting a kind of divine status.
It's definitely something for you to mull over or explore on your own.
We want to thank you so much for sharing your sources with us and letting us take this deep dive.
We really hope this gave you a completely new perspective on one of history's greatest CEOs.
And we encourage you to follow the channel for more explorations into complex figures reimagined for our world today.
What stands out to you? We'll see you next time.